Well, I'm just taking another walk through our 5-year project. I get the various comments which are to do with what the work is done. I must admit, I get a little bit defensive about our workers, our Filipino workers, because they are able to work under the most impossible, daunting conditions. And so I think that they probably are criticized only on the basis of some of the things that they don't do. Now, when we had our recent concrete work done, which is at the back of me now, I was the first to criticize and say that I wasn't too happy with the work that was done. I'm going to turn the camera around so that you're looking at what I'm looking at. So that's it there. It's a huge area, and they did it without doing it the normal way that that it would be done in the West, in which you section it off and you do it a section at a time. No, they leave a rough edge, and so you'll get different colors of concrete, and it's not exactly a nice job. It was only ever intended to be a temporary thing, and I knew that we would probably have to do it again. As you can see, it can come up quite a bit more, and obviously the drainage has to come down to what will be French drains all around the house, taking the water out there. There is little danger of flooding in this area. We're on top of things in more ways than one. If you look down there, you'll see that actually we're pretty high up. That flooding is not really a problem. But I thought, like one person on the walkthrough had said, "Oh, amazed at how much work is left undone." It's not left undone. It's waiting for finance. This is what a friend of ours, Dean, called a back pocket project. Now the thing is that in the West, what you probably would do if you had an idea of having what we're calling an inland resort, inland in that we're on an island, and the best place to have a resort is where they can walk out onto a beach. But there is life inland as well, so an inland resort is still a whole thing. You can have a pool, you can have nice rooms like this where they're not crammed in. If you come to Bohol, you'll probably go to a hotel where they've maximized the use of the space that they have, and so a hotel room will be enough to have a bed, be able to walk around it, a television on the wall, and you'll just sleep there. You won't enjoy being in the room, and we've made it so that that's not the case here. Now, if you're looking now at the electrics is the next big part of the project, but it is part of an ongoing work in progress project. And you have to keep that in mind, because if you're looking now, we're looking at a huge room here, which will be a reception room, booking in for a room. I've explained all this once before, described it, but as you can see, just addressing what the cost would be on the next part of the project is all of these points, all of these plugs, points. There's a huge panel that has to go in there that will be overkill. What we said right at the beginning was that the electrics had to be overkill. Now, all of this in the ceiling, these tray ceilings, what I call tray ceilings, all has concealed lighting, which is very, very nice for the ambience of the room when people walk in. Over here we're going to have a kitchen that has to be going in too. So all the fittings, cabinet work, everything that you would expect for a mini kitchen has to go in there. Every room has to be fully furnished. So if you think about that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms, and this particular room is a double room. So everything is double in there. This will be a large sitting room area, and then a master bedroom in there, and with a pool and all kinds of things that we have planned. It will be a place where it's sufficient holiday atmosphere and feel that you don't have to go out. So you wouldn't be in search of a beach, because we would have fixed everything up on a pool, and there'll probably be 2 pools. So looking at the electrics, just looking at all of these plugs that go in, I call those plugs, they're outlets. Americans speak, they're outlets. Outlets, switches, places where you can plug a computer, because people obviously will bring their computers, so obviously these things are here. And you can see there's plugs and points and outlets everywhere. I counted, a rough count was about something like 150 of these points that have to be fixed, and all of the materials have to be bought for that. All the wiring is in and waiting to be hooked up. So it can all be pulled through, and these points will be fitted and operational. Has to have an air conditioner in every room. Has to have, all of these rooms are what in the Philippines they would call a family room. So a family room is that you wouldn't just have one bed in here. Filipinos would bring their family. So you would have a couple, and they may bring older kids, they may have a couple of teenagers with them, and their boyfriends, for all I know, or cousins and nephews and nieces, and they would all come. They would be able to live for a period, a vacation period here in a room this size without being on top of each other. So these are all very big rooms, and they're all very big bathrooms. And you have all the points and plugs and things and light fittings. My talk about the electrical that has to go in didn't include the lights. All of these tray ceilings have LED lights that are tubular, and they go around, and you can see that there will probably be about maybe 10 to each ceiling. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. We're looking at a huge outlay for electrics. So, as I said, I feel a little bit defensive if someone says that it's shoddy work, because they do things differently. Now, for instance, if I point out the things that I would see as being, this is what, see, in the West this would be shoddy work. But here, they don't put what I call architrave. In the UK and in America too, I worked in America as a contractor, and in the UK. And all around every door like this, there would be a moulding, a decorative moulding. So you would have moulding there on all of the doors. So this, you would not go onto this. So this is normal for a Filipino worker, but it's not normal in the West. And of course, if you're Western, then you're going to look at things with the same eye as you would if you were at home. But it's not the same, and you have to make allowances. Now, all of this wall work, all of this is what they call flat coated. Now, I did quite a bit of finished plastering when I was a contractor in the UK. And all of that would be finished plastered, not a semi-rough finish, and then with what they call flat coat. A flat coat is a fine mix which is akin to the finished plaster. But they put it on with a little trowel and they go over all of these surfaces and they flat coat them, and then they sand the whole thing down. To me, a terrific amount of work that's really not necessary, but that's how they do it. And so you cannot criticize them on that. We are in the Philippines. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was that our way of doing this is, as our friend Dean said, it's a back pocket project. And that is where you don't have the money to finish the job. For some, that's a big no-no. But then we don't owe. No one can come and take this away from us, because we don't owe money on it. We never raised any money. We could go to the bank and we could raise enough money probably to finish this entire project. And in the West, that would make total sense, because if you were talking to someone who is budget-minded, we have friends who are budget-minded now and despair with us at the way that we do things. But you could go and raise the money, and how would you do that? Well, you would put this property up as collateral. Now, what does that mean? It means that you no longer own, in real terms, it means that you no longer own the property. The bank owns it until you finish and repay the debt. So what's wrong with that? That's what everybody does. Why don't you do that? And you would be right in suggesting that that's what could be done, and we could do that. But as an example of how things can go, yesterday and all over the Christmas, we have been without money. We've had no money, down to a few hundred pesos, down to eating very modest meals. And that's what we've been down to. Because every time we went to the ATM, which is how we draw our money, go to the ATM and it says can't process this. Now, when you're in a long line and you wait for a long time to go and have a chance to draw some money, you can wait for an hour, because Filipinos don't just draw money for themselves. They may be the messenger for drawing money for 3 or 4 or 5 people or accounts. So it can take, I always calculate it, 5 minutes for each one. 5 minutes for each person to get their money. And when I went to one ATM yesterday, it would have meant over an hour waiting. But I'd only waited about 10 or 15 minutes, and it was announced by the person that was being turned down, there's no money. So the ATM had run out of money. Well, we ended up 5 different ATMs, and they all refused our card. So in the end, we have to get in a truck and drive to Tubigon, where we can go to the bank, because the bank by this time is now open and having normal operations. So we go there and let me take a seat for a while. We go into the bank, and they find that our card is no good. So something's happened with the card and it's no longer operational. Let me turn the camera around.